underneath the ground I am standing on. Right now there is a yellow jacket colony that my equipment is telling me contains somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 live insects. They have been building this nest since early spring, completely invisible to the homeowner who walks over this ground every single day. I am going to remove it entirely today, and what we find when we dig down is going to genuinely surprise you. Stay with me, because what comes out of this ground changes how you think about your own yard permanently. Why are subterranean nests in a different category of dangerous? Most people have encountered paper wasp nests before. The open honeycomb structures hanging under eaves and porch ceilings are visible. They're easy to locate, and their size is something you can assess before deciding how to approach them. Subterranean yellow jacket nests share none of those characteristics, and that single difference is responsible for the majority of serious yellow jacket attack incidents every year. You cannot see them. The only surface evidence of a subterranean yellow jacket nest is a small hole in the ground, roughly the diameter of a garden hose. No mound, no visible nest material. Nothing that registers as dangerous when you walk past it. The homeowner whose property I am standing on today has mowed directly over this entry hole approximately twice a week for the past 3 months without incident. That run of luck ended 4 days ago when his grandson ran across this section of lawn and triggered an immediate defensive swarm. The child received 11 stings in under 30 seconds before reaching the door. 11 stings on a child weighing 60 pounds is a genuine medical situation, and this family treated it correctly by getting him to a doctor immediately. He is completely fine. But that incident is the reason I am here today, and it is a reminder of something I want to be direct about before we go any further. Vibration is the primary trigger for subterranean yellow jacket defensive behavior. Lawn mowing, children running, a dog digging in the vicinity of the nest. Any consistent vibration transmitted through soil reaches the colony below and registers as a threat. The response is immediate, coordinated, and exits through that single ground hole in a stream that can deliver hundreds of stings within the first minute of contact. And if you identify a subterranean yellow jacket entry hole on your property, you do not treat it yourself. You stop all activity in that area immediately, and you call someone equipped and protected to handle it. I mean that without any exaggeration. Now, let me show you what is actually down there and how we remove it safely, because the structure of what we are about to uncover is something most people have never seen. What is the first step that determines everything else? Before any excavation begins, the entry hole needs to be treated to suppress the population inside the nest before we open the ground above it. Opening a subterranean nest with a live, untreated colony inside releases thousands of highly agitated defenders simultaneously into an enclosed space with no organized exit. That situation escalates faster than any protective equipment can fully manage. The treatment approach for a ground nest is fundamentally different from a surface nest. A contact spray applied at the entry hole reaches the tunnel immediately below the surface, and a portion of the gallery network directly connected to that entry point does not penetrate the full nest cavity, which is sitting at the bottom of a tunnel that typically runs between 12 inches and 4 feet below the surface, depending on the soil composition and the age of the colony. What penetrates effectively into the full cavity is dust, an insecticidal dust injected directly down the entry hole using a bellows duster gets pulled into the nest through the natural air circulation moving through the tunnel system. The colony creates its own airflow to regulate temperature and gas composition inside the nest, and that airflow becomes the delivery system for the dust. Deltamethrin dust or car barrel dust applied this way reaches nest areas no liquid product can access from the surface. After injection, you seal the entry hole temporarily and wait a minimum of 24 hours. That waiting period is not optional. It is the period during which the dust circulates through the full nest structure, contacts the maximum number of colony members, and suppresses the population to the point where excavation becomes a manageable rather than catastrophic operation. I treated this specific nest 48 hours ago. What we open today should contain a significantly reduced active population. Should. Yellow jacket colonies of this size contain enough individuals that a significantly reduced population still represents several hundred live insects. The protective equipment stays on throughout the entire excavation. What we found when we started digging, the entry tunnel on this nest drops almost vertically for approximately 14 inches before opening into a lateral gallery running horizontally toward the nest cavity. This tunnel architecture is consistent with nests built in old rodent burrows, which is the most common origination point for large subterranean yellow jacket colonies. The queen locates an existing underground void rather than excavating from scratch, which gives the colony a structural head start and allows it to direct its early energy entirely toward comb construction and brood production rather than tunneling. At 22 inches below the surface, we hit the top of the nest cavity, and this is the payoff I said was coming. The nest itself is constructed from chewed wood fiber mixed with the queen's saliva, the same material used by all paper-building wasp species. But a subterranean nest that has been developing since early spring in a pre-existing cavity does not face the size constraints that limit aerial nests. An aerial nest has to support its own weight from a single attachment point. A subterranean nest is supported on all sides by surrounding soil. It can expand outward in every direction simultaneously, and the only limitation is the available space within the cavity. This nest cavity measures 17 inches across and 11 inches tall. The comb structure inside contains multiple horizontal layers connected by paper columns. A multi-story architectural structure built entirely by insects to house a population of thousands. The outer paper envelope surrounding the comb layer serves as both insulation and structural support. It is genuinely one of the most sophisticated construction projects in the natural world, and I'm standing over it with a shovel. The comb structure that tells the colony's entire story. Each hexagonal cell in the comb layers serves a specific function determined by its position in the nest architecture. The cells in the outer lower combs contain developing larvae in various stages. Small white grubs curled inside the cells, some barely visible as eggs, some nearly full size and ready to pupate. The cells in the upper central combs that receive the most consistent warmth from the colony's body heat contain the sealed pupae. Capped cells, where the transformation from larva to adult is occurring right now. The queen cell is larger than surrounding worker cells and positioned in the most thermally stable section of the nest interior. Finding the queen in a nest this size during removal is genuinely difficult. She is not visually distinguishable during active nest disturbance because the defensive workers in motion throughout the cavity are between you and everything else. What confirms queen elimination is the complete absence of new colony activity at the treatment location over the 7 to 10 days following removal. A surviving queen will attempt to re-establish at or near the original nest site if she is mobile and the site retains favorable characteristics. What this nest tells you about your property right now. Here is the open loop I want to close before we finish today because this is the piece of information with the most direct, practical value for you personally. The nest we just removed started from a single overwintered queen in early spring. One insect. She located this old rodent burrow, determined it had the right soil conditions, the right depth, the right proximity to forage resources, and she started building. By the time this colony was detectable through surface behavior, it already contained over 1,000 workers. Your property has soil. Your property likely has areas where rodents have previously burrowed, along fence lines, under concrete edges, beneath landscape timbers, at the base of old tree stumps. Every one of those former burrow locations is a potential nest site that a spring queen will evaluate as she searches for a location to establish her colony. The prevention window opens in late winter and early spring before the first queens emerge from overwintering. Treating those locations with a residual insecticidal dust before the nesting season begins means any queen investigating those sites contacts the treated soil and does not survive to establish a colony. One application of the right product in the right locations in early spring eliminates the majority of the subterranean yellow jacket pressure on your property before a single worker is ever produced. That is the treatment cycle that breaks the annual pattern of discovering nests midsummer when they are already large, already dangerous, and already requiring professional removal to handle safely. If you want to understand the complete above-ground yellow jacket and wasp control system that works alongside underground nest prevention, including the bait station method that eliminates foraging populations safely without affecting honeybees, that is all in the wasp and yellow jacket video I put out recently. The above-ground and below-ground approaches work as a complete seasonal system together, and that video gives you the full above-ground half of it. It is right here.